Hi, this is Rachel Mech, attorney at Offit Kurman, and I'm here with Dr. David Fajgenbaum, physician scientist at the University of Pennsylvania and national best-selling author of Chasing My Cure, which comes out in paperback on Tuesday, January 26th. Hi, David.
Hey, Rachel.
Can you tell us a little bit about Chasing My Cure?
Sure. So it's a book that I wrote about my journey going from being a healthy third-year medical student to nearly dying 5 times from a rare disease that no one knew how to diagnose, to eventually identifying a treatment that saved my life. It's certainly a book about my journey chasing my cure, but it also has so many lessons and also so many important concepts around how do you get back up and keep going after life knocks you down? How do you keep fighting, keep pushing forward? It's a book that I felt I had to write because I'm just so thankful to be alive today, and I've learned so many lessons from this journey that I felt that I had to share them with the world.
And David, as someone who's read the book, this is the book that everyone needs to read in 2020 and 2021 to feel inspired. Oprah, listen up here. This is what your readers need. And Offit Kurman subscribers and clients, this is the hope. This, if you, when you're at home, because I know everyone is, we all are still because of COVID, this book will pick you up. So, David, for everyone who could use a pick me up in 2021, can you tell us a couple lessons that you learned from writing Chasing My Cure? Because if there's anyone that can preach about hope and hanging on and wading the tide, it's you.
Sure. Love to. And I wish so badly that so many of these lessons from my journey, I wish they weren't so relevant today. I wish that we weren't all dealing with so many challenges and so much adversity. But I'm thankful that I have this as a resource that I can share. So I think the first one I would mention is around this concept of overtime. So of course you played lacrosse in college and I played football in college. And so we both know a little bit about overtime and time that you didn't think that you'd have in a game where you've really got to make the most of every second. You know, you make a mistake in the first half, you can make up for it, but in overtime, every second counts. And I mentioned overtime because I feel like I'm in overtime. I mean, I nearly died for the first time in 2010 and unfortunately had a number of relapses. And I really feel like I have this extra time. And overtime, you remember from your lacrosse days, you know, it can be scary, but it also can be really clarifying. I mean, you know what you need to do and you really lock in on what you need to do. And so for me, I feel like I'm in overtime. And I think that the lesson here is that we're all in overtime. And that's not to be, you know, a scary feeling but it's really to be clarifying, you know, if you're in overtime, who do you spend time with? What do you do? And I think for me, it's helped me a lot. Another is around the power of humor during tough times like this. As you know, I've even been confused as my father's pregnant wife at one point because
While you're telling this story, I'll show a few pictures, Dave.
as you know,
You
I was
keep
so
going.
sick, my liver and my kidneys weren't working, so I got this huge belly. And as you know from the book, a drunk man thought that I was my dad's pregnant wife, and that could have been a moment of tears, but it was a moment of laughter. And I think laughing with the people you love during really tough times is an important lesson that I think is going to be, or it has been. Important for so many of us during this COVID world. Another is around the importance of turning hope into action. We've been friends for years, and you know that I'm a generally positive, hopeful sort of person, and I think I'm still somewhat that way. But I really the way that I look at hope changed a lot when I relapsed on the only drug in development because I was so hopeful that was going to be the solution for me. That was the drug that we've been hoping and praying for, and it wasn't working. And so then it made me realize that we need to turn our hope into action. So if you're going to hope for something, if you're going to pray for something, what can you do today, tomorrow, and the next day to get closer to making that hope become a reality? Another one is a lesson that I learned from my mom. She was the most incredible person, and as you know, when we were friends at Georgetown, my mom passed away from cancer, and she taught me a lot. But one of the things that she taught me that I think is really important right now is around silver linings. So, you know, everyone says find a silver lining during a really tough time. So here during COVID, look for these silver linings. But what my mom taught me is a little different from just looking for silver linings. She used to teach me to try to create a silver lining. So during a really tough time, don't just say, what positive has come from this? During a tough time, say, what can I do today to create something positive out of this really tough thing? And I think that's so important during COVID, especially as so many of us feel like we're kind of this is out of our control and there's nothing we can do. I think this idea that, yes, COVID and everything going on in the world is so difficult, but is there something I can do today that can turn this awful thing into something that can be positive? And I'd say the last lesson that I take from this is related to the title of the book. It's Chasing My Cure, but I don't think it could be any further from, or it could have been a lot better or more accurate if it was Chasing Our Cures, because it hasn't been just me. It hasn't been just a few scientists working together. It's really been a community effort. It's been friends like you. It's been colleagues, organizations all coming together to help us in the fight against Castleman disease. And again, I think this really rings true for COVID too. I mean, there's no way that anyone is going to chase their cure for COVID. It's all of us have to work together, and I think that's something that's even bigger than COVID.
So well said, David. And without spoiling the book, again, Chasing My Cure, you need to know that this book, David noticed a symptom that he was suffering when he had the best doctors in the world taking care of him. And that symptom that he kept following through and that he paid attention to led to a drugstore cure for Castleman's disease. And it hasn't just cured my friend who was on his deathbed. It saved his life, but it saved the life of so many. In another segment that you can watch on Offit Kurman, it says that he used the same drug with the permission of parents on patient number 2, who was a 5-year-old girl who had Castleman's disease, had tried everything else, and now she's 9. So there is hope out there, and David has created a national platform for real-time data, not just for Castleman's disease. You did create the Castleman's network. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And then, because we're going to discuss this in other segments about Chasing My Cure, why don't you tell them about how it's also being applied to COVID?
Sure. So for Castleman's, we started an organization called the Castleman Disease Collaborative Network. As you said, this is kind of part of the Chasing Our Cures. It was really a team effort, and we have been able to identify both the drug that I'm on that's helping me and also another drug that's currently in development that we think can help patients who don't benefit from the drug that I'm on. We also have developed treatment guidelines, diagnostic criteria. We've built this incredible network of physicians, researchers, and patients, and it's really been a total game changer. So when COVID began to hit in early 2020, we recognized all the similarities both between Castleman's and COVID, but also between the opportunity we might have to really advance research for COVID. And we started an effort called the Corona Project. And the Corona Project, the whole idea is, let's create a similar sort of database to be able to collect all data in one place so we can help to find treatments for COVID. And unfortunately, there are a lot of similarities between Castleman's and COVID. I wish there weren't, but unfortunately there are. But thankfully, a lot of the work we've been doing for the last decade is really relevant right now. And so we're doing everything we can. We're partnering with the FDA and also with the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative around this exact idea of how can you repurpose drugs, take a drug that's approved for one thing and use it for Castleman's or use it for COVID or use it for something else. It's a really simple concept, but unfortunately the incentives just aren't really aligned. So it's going to take some work.
Amazing, David. Well, he's found his cure. He's written Chasing My Cure, and he's working on COVID, everybody. And if anyone can do it, Dr. David Fajgenbaum can. I promise you that. Again, I'm here with Dr. David Fajgenbaum, physician scientist at the University of Pennsylvania and national best-selling author. Go out and get his book, Chasing My Cure. It comes out in paperback on January 26th. And I promise you'll feel better in 2021. Read this book, and everyone be safe, be well. And David, thank you for joining us here at Offit Kurman.
Thanks so much.